Yo, what's going on, boys? How you guys doing today? Welcome back to the Steam 2 video. And today, Heresy Act 3 has officially begun, and with it brought some changes, as well as some brand new artifact mods. So, in today's video, we're going to be using some of those artifact mods to make ourselves the best Strand Hunter build there is. With this build, we're going to have lots of survivability, ad clear, and also just a ridiculous amount of tornadoes out there. We're going to be fully embracing tornadoes with this build, and also just applying tons of different debuffs. Essentially, just turning anywhere we go into a big green mess. You're gonna have so many unraveling particles, threat lanes, and tornadoes just out there, just constantly damaging and killing enemies, while at the same time giving yourself and your teammates a woven mill, increasing your survivability. It is a fantastic at ad clear, really good at single target damage, and overall is gonna be a fantastic build if you're looking for the best thing to use on your Strand Hunter. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's build, and if you do, remember to leave a like and subscribe to the channel in case you guys aren't already for some more builds. And now, let's get into it, and first we gotta start with our exotics. Now for our exotic piece of armor, we're gonna be using the Radiant Dance Machines, and that means that every time that you get a kill with our primary weapon, we're gonna be getting back some dodge energy. This guy lets us have our dodge back very quickly, especially with our exotic weapon, and also lets us have some extra charges, meaning that we can use our class ability just a lot more. Meaning that we can proc a lot of the armor mods that involve the class ability a lot more, and also constantly put down decoys. As long as we keep getting some primary kills, we're always going to be getting back some dodge energy. Now for our exotic weapon, we're running the one and only, the Barrel Dyad. Now this weapon, it is very good at killing a bunch of bats, especially when the exotic perk is procced, so it's just the perfect type of weapon to pair up with the Radiant Dance Machines. This is going to be just a fantastic strand weapon, and since the build is also fairly close range, it just makes sense to have an SMG. This thing is great against ATs, this thing is great against single targets, as long as you have this on the Pad of Ambition, so make sure that you have that one on. Basically, you're always going to be making tons of light energy, and always just tearing through ATs very quickly with the exotic perk. This weapon is just so effective at like chunking some big enemies, dealing with ATs. It is just a really good weapon in general, and with some of the other mods that we have on this build, it means that this weapon is also going to have unraveling rounds, and it's also going to be doing some more damage to everything that's affected by a debuff. So we're going to be making this already really good weapon into an even better weapon once we have all those things going. Now for the subclass, we're just going to be on regular pure Strand Hunter, and for your dodge, you want to go with the Gambler's Dodge. This will give you back your melee every time that you dodge next targets, and this is going to be fantastic since the melee is a very easy way to apply Sever, and also just doing a bunch of damage throughout targets since it bounces between them. Now for your grenade, you want to go with the grapple, and this is going to be for a couple of different reasons. First, the grapple gives some pretty good mobility, and it basically lets us close the gap very easily, being able to always be in the range that we want to be, which is close range. A lot of the weapons that we're using and use abilities that we have are very close range abilities, especially because our main weapon is an SMG, so we always want to be fairly close to things. So the grapple basically just makes it easy to always be on that effective range, and it also gives us that grapple melee. It's gonna unravel whatever you hit, and it does do some AoE damage, so if there's a group of enemies, it will unravel all of them, and it's a very easy way of creating some tangles, since every time that you defeat an unraveled target, it will create a tangle. And lastly, the grapple melee will also work with some of the melee mods that we have, so we're gonna be able to make some moves with our grapple melee, as well as recharge out their abilities. So the grapple just works fantastic with this build, and it's just a very fun ability. Now moving on to the aspects, the first one we're going to have is going to be the Threat Spectre. Whenever we use our class ability, we drop the decoy. And the decoys are fantastic. They grab the aggro very easily of the enemies, and they basically makes it a little bit easier for you to deal with some of those tougher targets. Anything that draws attention away from you and your teammates is going to be really good, and the decoy is fantastic at doing that. And because of how often we're going to have our class ability thanks to our exotic, that means that we could drop a ton of decoys, basically just constantly confusing the enemy and make them shoot the decoy instead of us. Just adding more survivability to ourselves and again our teammates. And they also do some pretty decent damage when they explode, but most of the time we're just using them to draw fire away. One way that sometimes I would use them is that I would go in with the grapple and then immediately go into a dodge to put down a decoy against some of the bigger enemies. Things like majors, champions, just things that weren't able to be killed by the grapple, but you still got to put some damage on them. That's the things that I ended up using the decoy right up against them. Or you could also use your grapple and then immediately kill everything with the decoy if you're hitting some ads with them. Overall, the decoys is going to be fantastic, and we're going to be able to put out a lot of them thanks to our Radiant Dance machines. And the second aspect, and probably even more important aspect, is going to be the Whirlwind Maelstrom. And this is the whole reason why this build is even a thing, because the Strand tornadoes, oh, they're back, and they're back in force. With a lot of the mods that we have now, it is easier than ever to make tangos, meaning that we can get a bunch of these out there, constantly just damaging the enemy, constantly doing some ad clear, and also constantly is spreading Unravel. Since a lot of the mods in the artifact now have to do with Unravel, this thing being able to unravel by themselves, it is fantastic and is doing the most damage it's ever done. Because it unravels, now it increases damage on unravel targets, and it basically just tears through things very easily. And the best part about it is that you don't even have to have just one of these out there. With the other mod that also reduces the cooldown on your tangos, you can easily get 2 or 3 of these out there, just constantly damaging targets and constantly bringing back your abilities because all the damage they put out there. And while they're doing all this damage, they're also applying a bunch of debuffs, meaning that things are just getting constantly unraveled and severed. It is fantastic. The tornadoes are pretty much the best they ever been. I don't think they're going to be like this for a while after this. Now moving on to the fragments, the very first one we're going to have is going to be the Thread of Isolation, and this is going to give us another very easy way of applying Sever with our weapon. All we got to do is hit a couple of precision hits, and then we emitting a Severing Blast, basically you're severing a bunch of enemies around, which is going to work really well with our mods, which we'll get into in a second. After that, we have the Thread of Warding, meaning that every time that you pick up a normal power, we get Woven Mail. This is going to be one out of 2 things that we're going to have to use constantly increase our survivability and constantly increase our Woven Mail. After that, we're going to have the Thread of Generation. Whenever we deal some damage, it reduces our grenade cooldown. Our grenade is already on a pretty low cooldown, but this just makes it so we can use it a lot more often, especially since it's any type of damage. It doesn't have to be any type of specific damage, and since we're going to be putting out so much damage, especially with the tornadoes helping out, this is something that gets us our grenade back very quickly. And lastly, we're going to have the Thread of Continuity, meaning that our Unravel and Sever just last for a longer time. Overall, these debuffs are pretty much going to be on the enemy till they die. Now let's move on and actually talk about the mods, and while there's not that many, they have some ridiculous synergy with each other that makes this build just amazing. So first of all, here on the second column, we're going to have Unraveling Orbs, and this is going to give us a very easy way of getting Unraveling rounds on our SMG. Whenever we pick up an Orb Power, or whenever we pick up a Tango, we're going to get Unraveling rounds for about 13 seconds. And that is a very long time, considering how easy it is to make some orbs, or just to pick up a Tango. So it makes the uptime on Unraveling rounds crazy on this SMG, meaning that we're always going to be having it on. It is very rare for you not to actually have it on. Basically, just when you don't have enemies to actually shoot. And the boosted version makes it even better, because it means that all your Strand weapons are going to be doing extra damage to any Strand debuff targets. And this can be Sever, this can be Unraveled, or Suspended. So if any of the enemies are hit by any of those, they're going to be taking extra damage from your weapon. And if you unravel them with your weapon, that does count as a debuff, meaning that they're going to be taking extra damage just because the weapon has unraveling rounds. Overall, this is just going to be making our weapon even more effective and even more deadly. Now another perk is going to be Vile Weave, and this will make it so our tangos can also sever just by hitting targets, and it also reduces our tango cooldown whenever we pick them up. It reduces the cooldown by 2 seconds every time that you pick up a tango, so it does make you be able to spawn a lot more tangos and overall just get a lot more tornadoes out there. And while 2 seconds may not seem like a big of a difference, it does definitely make getting a bunch of tornadoes out there and just constantly make tangos just a lot easier. From the third column here, we're going to have Disruption Spike, so our Sever has an even bigger effect on enemies. Usually it's 40%, but with this it will be 50%. You also want to run Elemental Siphon. This is going to let us make even more tangos, as well as the boosted version, giving us extra super energy every time that we pick up a tango. From the fourth column, you want to go with Horse Shuttle. Whenever you damage some unravel targets, so everything that you shoot with your SMG, they're going to spawn Threatlings, and the boosted version will make it so those Threatlings sever targets. So not only are you going to be making Threatlings to get extra damage, you're also going to be applying some more Strand debuffs, meaning that more enemies are going to be taking more damage. Overall, just adding even more ad clear to your build and just more damage to your SMG. The other perks that you want to go with are going to be Dreadful Finisher and also Go from Lead, so you can be top tough on heavy and also special. And lastly, for this final column, you want to go with 2 Shreds, and this is going to be the other perk that's also going to give you tons, and I really do mean tons, of Woven Mail for you as well as your teammates. Every time that you defeat a separate target, it'll create a hotspot of Strand energy. It kind of looks like this. Every time that you stand next to this thing, it gives you 10 seconds of Woven Mail, which is actually a lot. It's pretty much like the same amount of time you would get if you were using something like Cedarachne. And this thing is fantastic, and it ended up blowing me away because I expected it to be a little bit worse than it actually ended up being. I didn't expect it to be this good. But it does have a downside, and that is that it spawns right where you kill that severed target, so if you're not close to a target, you will not be able to get the Woven Mail. But since this is a very close range setup, it means that we can always take advantage of this and always get those 10 seconds of Woven Mail. Now, this doesn't seem to have a bit of a cooldown in between activating it. It doesn't last too long, it lasts maybe like 3 seconds on the field, but it also seems to activate pretty much every time that you kill something that is severed. And with our build, where all it takes is a couple like precision hits, or just hitting something with our melee to make something severed, it means that we can just spawn a whole lot of these for ourselves as well as our teammates. And this, plus getting the Woven Mail from picking up orbs, it means that we're always going to be walking around with Woven Mail as long as there's enemies around. And the boosted version just makes the whole build a lot better because it increases the unravel projectile damage. So all those Strand particles that are just going around damaging a bunch of bats, they're going to be doing more damage. And specifically to severed targets, is going to do even more damage. So you want to apply as much sever as you can. So make sure that you use your melee just as much as you can. And lastly, for your final point on the artifact, you could go with the Defibrillating Blast. This one's really good. But if you want to go for more supers and super spamming, you can also go with Elemental Supercharger. Every time that we defeat any severed targets and our weapon matches our super, which it does, we're going to get extra super energy. And since we're going to be applying so much sever, since it's just such a big part of the build, this is just free super energy, so we can spam our super even more. Even as good as the Defibrillating Blast is, being able to build your super just this fast is going to be fantastic. And for the weapons that you want to pair up with your Barrow Diet, you essentially just want to match them to your champions. Since it is unstoppable and barrier, I went with a sidearm plus a rocket. I used the rocket a bit, but not a whole lot. I was just testing it out. Most of the time I really use just the Barrow Diet, especially against those barriers. I think I used my sidearm once, and that's it. But feel free to change these as you wish. You don't really have to wear anything specific on these 2 slots. And lastly, let's take a look at the mods that we have on this build. For the helmet, we're going to have Dynamo. Since we're going to be using our class ability a lot, might as well get some super energy every time we dodge next to some targets. Harmonic Siphon is going to make it so we can make orbs with our SMG, and the orbs are going to be helping us a lot, especially stay alive. And lastly, Powerful Friends, so every time they pick up an orb, it also gives our allies some armor charge. For the gauntlets, we're going to run Impact Induction. This is going to work with both our normal melee and also with our Strand melee, and this is going to lower the cooldown on our grenade, just so we can use them more often. Heavy Handed is going to be really good. Again, it's going to work with our normal melee and our Strand melee, just so we can make some orbs whenever we get some kills with them. And lastly, I have Harmonic Loader for my rocket, as well as my Barrow Diet, just because I wanted to reload as fast as possible. For the chest piece, we just have the resistances. You don't really have to have anything specific, just make sure you check the threat before going into a strike. For the boots, I had Absolution, so we can regen all our abilities when we pick up some orbs, as well as Better Already and Recuperation. You want double recuperation here, that is something you could do as well. Actually, that wasn't even recuperation. But as long as you have 2 survivability mods right here, it's going to add a lot more survivability to the build. We have a lot of damage resistance, but we don't have a lot of things that just immediately give us health or trigger health regen, so this is why I decided to go with 2 survivability mods on our legs. It makes the build just a lot more comfortable and a lot safer, especially since we already have so much ability regen. I didn't really think that we needed something like Orbs of Restoration. And lastly, for the class item, we're going to have Powerful Attraction, Reaper, as well as Distribution. Distribution is going to lower all our cooldowns, including our super, whenever we dodge next to enemies. Reaper is going to let us make some more orbs power after using a class ability. And lastly, Powerful Attraction will let us pick up any orbs in the area whenever we use our class ability. And since we're going to be using our class ability again so much, all of these are going to be tied to it, so we can just take advantage of this as much as we can. Now Reaper does have a cooldown in between, so you won't be making like orbs after every single dodge, especially if you're spamming it, but it does give you a very consistent and easy way of making orbs every couple of seconds with your dodge. And with that, that's actually gonna be the end of the build, boys. Now you pretty much have everything to just go into any activity and start spreading all the Strand chaos with your tornadoes, with your unraveling, as well as your constant sever. Like always, there's gonna be a dim link in the description and in the comments below in case you guys want to check out this build. And if you did end up trying it, make sure you guys come back here and let me know what you guys thought of the build. Because I am so happy that these new mods are actually here, because I love the Strand Hunter, and this just makes it pretty much the best it's ever been. Especially if you're a big fan of the tornado and all the tango gameplay, it is gonna be fantastic for you, and you gotta love this build. It is very fun, especially with the grapple. You're basically just always in the action, always tanking a ton of damage, and always just making a bunch of tornadoes. It is a very fun build, and I highly recommend that you try this out, even if you have never played Strand in your life. And the last thing that I love about this build is just how simple and easy it is. All it takes is just one tango for you to really get this thing going, and for you to start just spamming a bunch of just abilities and a bunch of just debuffs all over the place. And every time that you see a tango, make sure that you grab it or destroy it, so you can always have those tornadoes going all over the place. Again, do not be greedy with your abilities, do not save them, especially with your dodges, because you get them back so fast. Just pretty much spam everything out there, since you're going to be getting them back really quickly. Especially if there's multiple tornadoes out there doing damage, the grenade comes back very, very quickly. But hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video, hopefully you guys liked it, hopefully you guys give the build a try. Hopefully you guys end up giving the build a try, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care everyone, have a good rest of your day. Peace.